I heard I just need to get started to get the audience filled up. So, welcome. My name is Michael, and the next 30 minutes I will speak about beyond connectivity and AI and share some of our experiences, how we have learned working with clients to really make smart factory projects a success. And as key topics I would like to cover for today is, first of all, I would like to give you a quick review of where do we see smart manufacturing standing at the moment. Second, what are from our experience critical success factors to make smart factory projects really scale. Third, I would like to give you a quick insight into our solutions we have developed with our clients and our partner AWS and what you can achieve with it. And last but not least, how we tackle digital manufacturing journeys with our client to really ensure that those projects do not just come up with some technologies, but really being a success and scale in the long run. Okay, first, we have seen a lot of clients starting digital manufacturing engagements over the last 5 to 7 years, and many of them, they have achieved some results. Yeah? But on the other hand, we have seen a lot of clients not really realizing the benefit and the value they were expecting when they have started the project. Yeah? So we still see more than 70% of digital manufacturing projects not delivering the value that has been expected at the beginning when the business case was calculated and when everyone was eager to start. So what we have seen that the main or one main reason for this is that you do not approach digital manufacturing holistically. Many clients start individual pilots, individual activities, but not that much clients really look at smart manufacturing holistically and considering the different building blocks that are required to make such kind of transformation successful. And from our experience, it's more than just technologies. From our experience, there are 5 different building blocks that need to come together to really make such kinds of transformations successful. First, you really need to have a clear strategy in place. And I will come to all those 5 points in detail in a second. Secondly, you also need to generate a holistic view on the different use cases, but also enablers that you need to have in place to make such kinds of engagements scale. You need to rethink your IT/OT architecture. So how must your IT/OT architecture develop that you will be able to harvest all the earnings you want to create or you want to get out of digital manufacturing solutions? But you also need to have the right organizational setup in place. Yeah? Structures that has been working over the last 20 years with the separation of IT, OT, business owners do not longer work that well when you want to approach digital manufacturing at scale. And last but not least, of course, change management is also one key cornerstone of making this kind of engagement a success. Change management not only in the global organization, but also on the day-to-day level on each and every plant you are onboarding to your digital manufacturing journey. So let's have a look at those 5 building blocks step by step. First, it's a digital strategy you need to have in place. What do we mean with a digital strategy? You know, a strategy putting on one slide is always a little bit different to make it tangible, so I try to visualize it with a picture. Yeah? First, you should be clear about what do you want to improve. Yeah? Which kind of KPIs do you want to improve by approaching digital manufacturing? You see here an example like process performance, health and safety, or also asset efficiency. Once you know which kind of improvements you want to achieve, you should start first from the bottom. So you should think about your processes and if you need to standardize and rethink your processes. Because having different processes in all your different plants will limit you to scale your digital solutions. So standardization on your processes is one of the first key building blocks you need to take care of before you can think about the new digital capabilities you want to implement. Yeah, you see here some examples of digital capabilities like advanced process monitoring, inventory tracking, quality control. All those capabilities come along with different use cases, but they need to build on top of standardized use cases. And here comes the binding glue. You need to rethink your IT-OT architecture in the middle. The IT-OT architecture will require a couple of new functionalities that will help you to implement digital use cases, that will help you to combine and to get all the data from your different processes and equipments. And only with those different levels in place, you have the foundation to start your digital transformation journey at scale. Once you have your strategy in place and you know where you want to head for, you can think about what are my use cases, and also what are my use cases that I want to implement in which system on my digital shop floor. So this means you need to think about in which system do I want to implement which kind of capabilities. Yeah, what do I want to do in the ME system? What do I want to do in the ERP system? And what is maybe the sweet spot for an IIoT platform and the data platform? So only when you really think about this kind of guardrails, you will have a clear way forward where to implement which kind of use cases. Yeah, and then you can make an evaluation which kind of use cases adds the biggest value, but also which kind of use cases can be scaled in a most efficient way. So there might be use cases that are only valuable for a single plant, but do not scale across the others. So you might to rethink your prioritization. At the same time, you always should also have a look at the technical enablers you need to have in place. Yeah, many clients start with implementing use cases without having the enablers that are required to make them scalable in place. So always think about enablers in parallel. You should not focus on use cases, but please keep in mind that there is a lot of technology that needs to be in place under the hood to really ensure those use cases scale in the long run. So these are things like security, SAP integration, automation. Without automation, you will be really struggling scaling your digital manufacturing solutions to more than 2, 3, or 4 plants. So all these things need to go hand in hand before you can really approach a scalable smart factory transformation. Next, to look a little bit more in detail into the use cases, what we have done with clients in the past. There are plenty of use cases that you can do on top of a digital manufacturing platform. But as said, first you need to be really clear about which kind of use cases to implement. And what you see here are some exemplary use cases we have developed with our clients in the past on top of our open source platform we've built together with AWS to really scale smart factory solutions fast, to not struggle around with all the enablers that are needed, but really start quick and come up with use cases for performance, for quality, for availability, but also for sustainability, or also leveraging Gen AI to really earn some low-hanging fruits, for example, when it comes to maintenance documentation. Yeah? All these kind of use cases can be implemented fast, and all those kind of use cases work closely and integrated together once you have built them on top of one single platform. Looking at, for example, a Gen AI use case, which helps you to just make your maintenance documentation much easier accessible than when you just have to go manually through the documents. Yeah? So putting a Gen AI on top of your maintenance documentations and maintenance protocols helps you to just chat with your documentation and allows you to spot the documentation or the instructions for a maintenance process much faster than when you need to go manually through each and every maintenance document and protocol. Yeah, so this is a solution you can implement quite easily by putting an AI on top of your documentation documents without having a big infrastructure in place, for example. There are others that require much more integration, like an ME system that you rebuild on top of an IoT platform, or a traceability solution. Depends on what you want to do and how you want to combine the data. The effort might be higher or lower, depending on what you want to achieve. How does it look like from a technical perspective? So if we go one slide ahead, without getting too technical, I think it's important to understand that a scalable IoT and data platform consists on different components that are required to be in place and that needs to be scalable to really harvest those fruits you want to earn from your IoT transformation. Yeah? There is for sure an important component that is around integration and connectivity. Yeah? Without getting the data from the shop floor and getting the data in a structured and scalable way from the shop floor, you will have challenges in really scaling the solution fast across different plants. Yeah? So taking care about connectivity and data integration is one of the key parts you should take care of. And then, of course, you have the component of the data platform when it comes to long-term storage, analytics that you want to do on top of that IoT and process data that you are collecting. But also when it comes to the IoT and application platform itself. So from our learning, digital manufacturing platforms are not just reporting solutions. They are solutions that require closed-loop integration with the equipment that you are getting the data from. You might want to send back data to the equipment to improve the process. So it's not only getting the data, but also sending data back to the shop floor. And therefore, you really need to take care how the connectivity stack looks like. And don't just think about, I have an IoT platform and I do some reporting on top of it. There is a mix of reporting solution and operational solutions what we see when working with our client when it comes to digital operations and digital manufacturing. That you need to always have in mind when building such platforms, because often clients tell us, hey, we have already a data platform in place, we are more or less done. Unfortunately, for digital manufacturing projects, this is not the case, as the nature of the use cases might be much more operational than just typical reporting and analytics use cases. So, but how should you really organize yourself when working as an organization on a digital manufacturing project? I think there are different levels of maturity you need to have in mind. Yeah, and you need to think about it in evolution. When you start with digital manufacturing, you might see a lot of people in your plants starting to work around with or experiment around with solutions that are not compatible with each other. Solution A, solution B, very decentralized and does not look very, very organized or does not look very, very structured in that phase. But that's fine, because at this point in time, you are just gathering experience. Yeah, you are checking what does work, what does not work, and that is a good starting point, and people will identify the value of digital manufacturing for themselves. Yeah, so once you are at this point, you need to start to think about, okay, what's next? Yeah? And next could be that you want to implement some kind of orchestration or organization, centralization, like defining standards. So which kind of tools, which kind of architectures do we want to have in place? How do we connect assets on the shop floor? Which kind of equipment do we want to buy in the future to make this all working together quite smoothly? So at this point in time, you are not yet really scaling that much, but you set the foundation for being able to scale afterwards. Yeah? Defining those guardrails, defining those standards will help you to move again a little bit backwards to the decentralized approach, because from our learning, only a decentralized approach will allow you to scale afterwards. Yeah? So a colleague of mine just recently said, centralized standardization and decentralized scalability is what you need to achieve. Yeah, and only if you enable people in the plants, people on the shop floor, to connect signals on their own, to configure applications on their own, only then you will be able to really scale. If you plan to connect all your assets in all your production plants by a central team. You have either a very, very big central team, or you most probably, it will take a very long time, and most probably you will fail on that. Yeah? So you really need to empower people on the shop floor to leverage your digital solutions and to act and to do as much as possible on their own. Yeah? So this is the case where you can move on to the more, let's say, dedicated project teams. You have defined the standards, you have defined the common ground for how solutions should be implemented. Then people can start working in decentralized teams on those standards. You might have some key players that act as key enablers and key people that train other people in your production facilities and help and enable them to use those solutions. Once you are really standardized and mature, you might even move one step further, where you also put the implementation of solutions in the hand of the end users. Here is where solutions like low-code platforms might come into place, where people can build on top of a standardized data foundation their own solutions that solve specific problems on the shop floor. But this, of course, requires quite some mature foundation, mature data framework, before you can really start working on this kind of maturity level. This is what we normally see how companies should evolve during their journey towards digital manufacturing, from a decentralized, limited coordination towards really an autonomous, embedded organization applying digital manufacturing. And every phase has its right to be in place at a certain point in time, because people learn, people really get familiar with the technologies, to the new ways of working, and you should accept that you cannot be at the fully decentralized, scalable stage after 6 months or 1 year or even 18 months. It takes much longer to really drive this change. And also, when thinking about change, from our experience, it's a lot also about enabling people. Yeah, so in the past, you might have had a couple of people being responsible for solutions on the shop floor, old on-premise systems, and those people are really, really, really experienced in how those solutions work, how those solutions are needed to keep operations running. But those solutions are, they're at the end of their lifetime, or they are now need a much deeper integration with other technologies, for example, cloud technologies, to really build this integrated IT/OT backbone. So you need to upskill those people. And most often, those people are quite often also close to retirement. So you might also think about how to really onboard new people that, on the one hand, are able to operate the existing OT landscape, but on the other hand, are still eager and open enough to step into that new world of integrated IT/OT architecture, to work on both ends, the IT and the OT side, because a lot of functionality will be also hosted in the cloud. So there are also different roles that you might come across once you start that journey. So there are, of course, the functional experts, and only with those functional experts you will be really able to gather the data at scale. Yeah, those are the guys that normally know what data comes out of the PLC. Yeah, so they know how to interpret the data configuration within a PLC and which data point means what. So without them having on board, you will have a really hard time to get the data. But they are also always quite good in describing the functional requirements that they have towards modern and new digital solutions. Together with a business analyst that comes with the process expertise and the general experience of standards within the company. And you see a lot of different other roles. And for example, also the master data specialist. This morning we had another speech where it was about recent developments of AI in manufacturing. And the biggest challenge our survey revealed was that 70% of all clients trying to apply AI and manufacturing are suffering from data quality. Yeah, so taking care of data quality is one key cornerstone of really making all that magic work. So don't underestimate the effort that is required also to make the data available in a way and in a quality that AI and digital manufacturing in general can work. So, and you see also other roles, like what we also see is quite often a change and a development for how IT, OT is organized within companies is the approach of DevOps. Yeah, DevOps has been adopted, of course, in the IT world quite well, but in the OT world, it's often quite new or even very unfamiliar. People are not really knowing how to integrate that in their day-to-day process, but operating such kind of digital manufacturing platform requires a seamless integrated IT, OT, DevOps architecture. So therefore, this is something you really need to invest some time to think about how to bring those two worlds together, not only in development, but also in day-to-day operations. So to wrap it up, we had the 5 dimensions, what from our experience is needed to make smart factory transformations a success. Have the strategy in place, identify the right use cases, develop a mature and scalable IT/OT backbone, take care of the organization, and start as early as possible to work on the change management. Bringing this all together, you see it here once again from our experience, what is the next level of detail below this kind of success factors. Yeah, so I said, yes, you need to have a digital strategy in place. But what does that mean? Yeah, so first, be aware what does really business impact mean. Have a clear understanding and a common understanding across what is really expected to be as a payback for your digital manufacturing activities. Secondly, ensure ongoing management commitment. If you really want to start and succeed on a smart factory transformation that goes beyond a single machine or production line, you cannot start this without having a solid management support, at least on, I would say normally you need to have the CIO and the COO on board. Otherwise, it will get tricky to really get the commitment and also the resources, especially on the OT side, that are needed to make this a success. Secondly, what is below the use cases and priorities of the use cases? As said at the beginning, we have also seen quite often clients looking at all digital manufacturing use cases isolated and from a purely separated perspective. From our experience, the most valuable use cases come up once you start use cases on top of the first use cases you have developed. So making those use cases interoperable with each other, sharing the same enablers, the same security structure, the same data foundation is also crucial to make it a success, and also understand how to measure the value you get out of those use cases. Third, focus on enablers. I said that at the beginning. There is a lot under the waterline you need to take care of, and without focusing on this kind of enablers, you will be successful on the first use case. You will be maybe even successful on scaling that use case to a second plant, but you will struggle when you really want to scale it across hundreds of machines, multiple production sites. The maintenance efforts will increase tremendously, and without really having the right enablers in place, you will reinvent the wheel each and every time you build a new use case. And also be aware of what the efforts behind scalability really are. So building a use case, you will be successful quite fast. Building a use case that is flexible and generic enough to scale it across 50, 100, 150 plants requires much more effort than you might imagine at the beginning. take care about collaboration. Yeah, bring the teams together, IT, OT, and business. Only when those people work together in a seamless way, you will get the results you are expecting. And also think about which kind of talent do you need. Yeah, I was talking about there might be the need of upskilling people that has been taken care of the OT world so far, but there might be also the need of bringing new people on board that come with new skills. And if you want to go that journey maybe in the next 12 months, start right now looking about which people do you need and where do you get them from. And last but not least, ensure about how do you really approach the change management. And if we start such kinds of projects, we start change management with day one. So in the past, we first started coding. Now we start with change management with day one to really ensure we get people on board and we get the commitment from the people on the ground. So that being said, I think we are close to the hour. If you have some questions, feel free to raise them now. Drop me a message by LinkedIn or just show up at our booth just over there. We have some nice demos, some nice showcases also from our learnings and our developments from recent client projects. Thank you.